Welcome, everyone. Before we talk about what the topic at hand, I would like to mention briefly the terrible event that happened today, the shooting. The police chief of Montreal referred to it in a speech today as a cauchemar, a nightmare. It was a nightmare. There was a loss of life. As you know, a police officer in the line of duty was killed. Another one was seriously wounded, and an innocent bystander got killed as well. The perpetrator was stopped, and we're thankful that the police were there and did their job. And there was you may have heard of reports in Westmount. There was a thought that there may have been a second shooter. There were 80 police officers went to Upper Westmount, and they combed the whole area for several hours, and there was, in fact, no risk at all. We are sorry for the loss of life, and we pray for the wounded police officer who's now in hospital. I've asked that our flag be at half-mast, and that's going to be done now. And I know the City of Montreal and the province of Quebec are doing that with their flags as well. So it's a sad day, and we are very saddened by what happened, and hopefully that'll never happen again. So welcome to the public consultation meeting, June 22, 2026 at 7 o'clock. We're here to discuss two bylaws which are in draft form, 1664 and 1665. The purpose of the meeting really is to present these two bylaws. 1664 amends the demolition bylaw, and 1665 amends the zoning bylaw. And we're here to hear from anyone who has any opinions on these matters. So these bylaws will be presented by our urban planning director, Frederick No, who's here, and there will be a question and comment period afterwards. What we decided to do is to do bylaw one at a time to make it simpler. So I call upon Frederick No to talk about the proposed bylaw 1664. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I will be presenting you the two draft bylaws. The first one is draft bylaw number 1664. That is named Règlement visant à modifier le règlement relatif à la démolition d'immeubles, harmonisation à la suite de l'adoption de l'inventaire des immeubles patrimoniaux de l'agglomération de Montréal. So the word to remember is harmonization in this case. So it's an exercise of modification of the bylaw exclusively to harmonize with the adoption of the heritage inventory from the agglomeration. A quick timeline of what brings you here. In 2021, Quebec government adopted Bill 69, which is designed in part to better regulate building demolition in Quebec. There was some case of demolition that for some were not supposed to happen, so the government decided to have an inventory throughout the territory of Quebec, so that includes also the agglomeration of Montreal. So it obliged the agglomeration to have a updated inventory of buildings built before 1940. So past 2021, among other things, the bill requires, as I said, all agglomerations to conduct an inventory of all heritage buildings constructed before 1940. This inventory was adopted by the agglomeration in last December. So from that time, all of the boroughs and cities of the island of Montreal must harmonize their demolition bylaws with this new inventory. So that's where we are now. It's important to know that this amendment does not alter the scope of the current bylaw. It's wording that we must adapt to comply with the inventory, essentially. Si on va un peu plus dans les détails, dans les éléments qu'on modifie, Je vais y aller un par un. On a une clarification de certaines définitions afin d'éviter une incohérence dans le texte du règlement et toujours d'assurer une harmonisation avec l'inventaire de l'agglomération. On modifie les libellés, le wording des démolitions assujetties pour tenir compte des immeubles patrimoniaux de l'inventaire de l'agglomération afin d'assurer une cohérence à travers le règlement, notamment en ce qui concerne les bâtiments accessoires qui sont maintenant, qui peuvent être inclus dans l'inventaire patrimonial. Et finalement, on assujettit tous les immeubles patrimoniaux inclus dans l'inventaire au règlement de démolition, ce qui inclut les bâtiments municipaux. The actual demolition bylaw does not include the municipal building as subject to this bylaw. Voici la procédure d'adoption, the adoption calendar. It's pretty straightforward because it's an harmonization process, so it's not subject to referendum approval. We are obliged to do this, to perform these modifications. So we are now right in the middle of the process on June 22. The next step will be the adoption with or without change. That is planned on July 7th at the next council meeting. And the entry into force would be determined, but would be after this adoption. So, Mr. Mayor, that completes my presentation for this draft bylaw.
Thank you. Are there any questions relating to this matter, this proposed bylaw 1664? No? Thank you. So let's go on. Yes.
I have one. Shall I come up here?
Yes.
All right. So one concern about
What's
1660.
your name?
Oh, Isaiah Wiener, Churchill Avenue. So one concern I have is that whether residents will like clearly understand if their property is being affected by this inventory and how they will find out if they are being affected by it.
Can I answer this one?
Frederick?
That's a really good question, and it was not part of my presentation. However, I'd like to refer you to the City of Montreal webpage. Oh, I cannot show it. I see it on my screen, but if you type on Google Inventaire Montréal, this would be enough to bring you to the webpage of the City of Montreal, and they do have an interactive map of all of the island, including Westmount, with the drawing of every building that is included in this inventory. So, yes, there's a way.
Thank you. We're going to the next bylaw, which is 1665. I call upon Monsieur No to explain it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the second draft bylaw, 1665, that is amending the zoning bylaw. This should be one of the last amendments to the zoning bylaw until the complete revision of the urban planning bylaws. As you know, it's now official. There's a overhaul process for the review of the urban planning bylaws. So it's one of the last. This is my expectation. C'est un amendement qui est prévu pour adresser essentiellement deux éléments. Donc, safety concern and enforcement issue. L'enjeu de sécurité, c'est pour s'harmoniser avec les normes de sécurité que Hydro-Westmount applique. Donc, il y a des distances à respecter entre les power lines et les bâtiments. Et ce n'était pas reflété dans les règlements de zonage jusqu'à maintenant. Donc, il y avait une sorte d'incohérence, on peut dire, entre les standards de sécurité et les normes de zonage. Donc, on vient harmoniser cet élément-là. Et l'enjeu d'application, ça concerne des structures accessoires que je vous présenterai, mais qui sont tout simplement pas indiquées dans le règlement, mais qui existent en réalité. Par exemple, les saunas extérieurs, par exemple. Donc, on vient clarifier les normes pour certains types de bâtiments. The first one, it's a long historical requirement in Westmount that every detached accessory building must be located at 0 meter from the lot lines, no other place. So the detached garage that you find in Westmount, particularly in Lower Westmount, are always located at 0 meter from the lot line. No exception. There's an inconsistency with the requirements of Hydro Westmount that require to have a setback between the power lines that are usually at the lot line and the building itself. So it makes it complicated over time to manage these double requirements. Donc, on vient donc enlever la norme de 0 mètre à tout prix pour les bâtiments détachés. Et également, il faut savoir que l'implantation à 0 mètre crée un enjeu en vertu du Code civil du Québec, qui requiert, entre autres, que les stormwater from the roofs must be managed on your property. So if the building is located at 0 meter, necessarily the water will come down to the neighbors. So there's an issue with this. So it will address both these elements. Donc ici, un peu plus en détail, là, actuellement, in effect, on doit être à 0 mètre de la ligne arrière, on doit être à 0 mètre de la ligne latérale, sauf quelques exceptions, là, comme indiqué. La proposition, donc l'amendement, c'est que dorénavant, un minimum de 1 mètre de toute ligne de l'eau est requis, incluant la ligne arrière et la ligne latérale. C'est un standard qui est assez répandu là, d'une ville à l'autre et ça permet de satisfaire le Code civil et aussi là, des normes de sécurité. Toujours par rapport aux nouvelles dispositions, plus en lien avec Hydro-Westmount, on vient prévoir, le 1 mètre, c'est un 1 mètre absolu, mais s'ajoute à cela aussi une distance minimale, lorsque pertinent, de 1,6 mètres des fils électriques de basse tension, low voltage. And for the medium voltage, there's a radius of 3 meters that must be separating the power lines and any part of a new building. Donc, comme indiqué en jaune, c'est vraiment en cohérence avec les normes d'Hydro-Westmount de sécurité. Donc, ça, c'était pour les garages détachés. Il y a d'autres éléments qu'on ajoute là, à cet amendement-là. What you see on the 3 pictures, we call it garden structures. It's a storage. It's kind of almost of a furniture. It's something you can buy in hardware store. It's made sometimes of plastic or some other materials like this. It's a small size, and again, it's meant for storage. This is particularly popular in Lower Westmount when there's row house and the backyard has no access to the street, so it's complicated to bring 2x4s and construction and everything, so it's very convenient for people. It's never been formalized in our bylaws, and so it's kind of managed in some aleatory way. So we make it formal for the residents to know what is allowed, and the administration will be allowed to say yes, you have the right, or no. Par exemple, ici, là, le X là, qui est en bas, c'est que c'est un bâtiment. Non, ici, on est les remises, pardon. Je reviens ici. Il y avait un endroit qu'on parle. Oh, c'est ici. Il y a une superficie, vous voyez, must have a maximum area of 50 square feet. This is pretty small, so it's a small structure. Avec une hauteur maximale aussi qui est quand même limitée. Donc, c'est un petit type de structure là, qui est permis, non pas des géants là, en plastique. Là. C'est quand même très limité. continue dans les sommaires là, des nouvelles dispositions. Ça ne doit pas être installé de façon permanente, donc c'est déposé au sol, c'est freestanding, no foundation, and a minimum setback is also required with the lot lines. Materials are indicated, and that's it. That's it for the garden structure. The other one, as I said in introduction, are about the saunas. More and more, maybe I guess it's more popular than it was when the bylaw was written back in 2001. We do have some application or request for information for this type of structure. Now we formalize it with provisions, so it would be allowed. Seulement sur un lot occupé par un usage résidentiel, en cour arrière, latérale ou avant secondaire, sans ne jamais être visible de la voie publique. Ça doit être, again, freestanding, pas de fondation, et un minimum de 2 mètres des lignes de l'eau et d'un bâtiment principal pour limiter les risques d'incendie. Il y a une superficie maximale de 6 mètres carrés, avec une hauteur maximale de 2,28 mètres. Pour ce qui est du chauffage, c'est un chauffage uniquement électrique qui est permis, donc le chauffage au bois n'est pas permis. Et le matériau du sauna doit être en bois, à l'exception de la quincaillerie et de la toiture. Donc, voici pour les saunas. Et finalement, là, un bundle de différents éléments plus secondaires. Là. On vient, we have new provisions for what we call freestanding deck, so what is almost at the level of the ground, and the property line that is reduced from twice its height to once its height in order to be less restrictive. And it's particularly interesting, again, for Lower Westmount that have narrow lots. We also have a provision that is intended to exclude children's play structure from the scope of the provisions regarding garden structure. Children's play structure is popular for families, but there's no real category that fits in our actual bylaws. So we use other provision that makes it not always possible to have the right to have a structure, such a structure in their backyard. So it's no more possible. And I think it's finally, yes, it's the last slide. We also have a new amendment, new provisions for fences. It's a clarification provided to specify that the maximum height for 1.4 meter applicable within the 4-foot zone from the front wall does not apply in the case of a secondary front yard. It's very technical, but it will be helpful for the planning of a design of a backyard for those who have a secondary front yard. So it's very technical, but will be helpful for residents. And also, we would add tempered glass panels in the case of an enclosure surrounding a swimming pool to the list of approved materials. As it is now, it's not authorized. The amendment would authorize it. I said it was the last slide. This is actually the last one here. This is the adoption calendar. So this one, contrarily to the demolition draft bylaw, is subject to a referendum approval. So we are at Assemblée publique now. The next step will be the adoption of the second draft bylaw with a date to be determined, but certainly in the summer. And then a public notice to inform you of the process. And people who oppose can voice. And again, this would be determined after the date of the council. This is it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Yano. Are there any questions? Yes.
All right, so you clarified a little bit, but I was reading the notice on westmount.org for bylaw, the draft bylaw of 1665, and I only had one concern about it. So my question is whether this will impact, if it will impact structures that are already in place, like the garden structures that someone already has that is outside of those perimeters, or if it will only impact future structures. And if there's going to be consequences for a citizen or something like that if, like, they don't change their garden structures if applicable.
Thank you. Yes. Monsieur No.
The answer is no, it does not impact the existing structure. If there would be a change compared to what was built, we call it acquired rights. So if it was authorized under different provisions, we call it acquired rights, so no.
Thank you. Yes.
I have a question regarding pergolas. They're starting to become more and more popular. How does that fit into the definitions here, or is it something completely different?
It's not part of this amendment. There's already provision for pergolas in the existing zoning bylaw, so it's not changed for pergolas.
Okay, and
Yes.
just another question I have is, you have in section 4, you're saying that a single garden shed per parcel of land is authorized. So let's say a person has one that's, let's say, 3 by 3, just for example, and there's a second one next to it that's also 3 by 3. Would they have to buy one that's 3 by 6? Or then, would that fall under the acquired right that the gentleman was discussing?
Under this amendment, if it's adopted, I'm under all reserve. I'm pretty sure there's a maximum of one garden structure per lot.
Okay, so
authorized.
anybody would have to buy only one. You can't have, even if the size of the lot is a big lot, you can't have one in, let's say, at one side, one on the other side. There would have to be only one.
I'm pretty sure there's a maximum that is written of one.
Yeah, it's
I
it's
can
section
confirm.
4, section 4.
Section 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's provision number 2 under section 4. Une seule remise de jardin par terrain est autorisée. So it's a maximum of one.
And what is the logic behind that? I guess it's because we don't want it to be too unsightly, but what's the thinking behind this?
Well, it's same goes then for a maximum of one garage per house, one, as it's a maximum. It will be one sauna per property. It's to make,
To standardize.
yeah,
Okay.
to standardize. Mhm.
Okay, nothing further.
Thank you. Councilor Chomsky.
Thank you. A question for you, Director. Can you clarify the rules that apply to play structures currently in force?
As of now, there's nothing. There's almost nothing. We just relate to what we call, I have it open here. I will have to close this presentation. It's under garden structure. It's provision 6.17.3 of the actual zoning bylaw. That includes gazebos, gloriette, pergola, things like that, others. And yeah, and there's a maximum height of 3 meters, a distance between a garden structure and a property line, and that's pretty much all. We would remove the play structure from this requirement. Sometimes the height is higher than 3 meters because there's scales and everything, swings, and that's it. But there's not much about play structure in this amendment.
Great. I have another question as well. Outdoor kitchens are becoming quite popular. are outdoor kitchens considered a remise de jardin, or is that a different category? And likewise with remise de jardin, if I have cabinetry that is built in and attached to the residence, or is freestanding but is done in carpentry, for example, does that fall under a remise de jardin, or is that something else?
It's a good one, and I compare this to the saunas in the term that it wasn't really existing, those kitchen, like a couple of decades ago, so it's not included in the actual bylaw. So over time, we have to update our situation to the needs of our residents. This element, outdoor kitchen, was not addressed in this amendment. But we start a big process that will address everything that the city, the council, the residents want. So that could certainly be a good idea to review and think about this part.
Great. And one last question. And I know that your images and the slides are just there as illustrations, but I noticed for the sauna, the foundation seems more permanent in the image, at least the prior one. And my question is, what are your thoughts? What is the difference between a temporary remise de jardin and something that is, does it have to be on grass or on the actual surface of the garden, or can it be on a patio area? And at what point does it become a permanent foundation which is not approved? Just if you could give us your thoughts on how you understand the bylaw.
In the provisions that relate to the saunas, there's no a prohibition for a foundation.
Okay.
So it's authorized. And I would explain this certainly because it's another use of a building than for storage.
Oh, so a sauna is permitted to have a foundation with a
Yes.
footing, okay.
And it's kind of habitable, so
Okay.
people go in there for seasons.
It's electricity, so it has to be done to code.
Exactly.
Okay. But a remise de jardin, what is allowed for the structure underneath the remise de jardin?
It's freestanding.
Freestanding on an existing surface? If I put patio pavers so that it doesn't sink in the mud?
Nothing permanent.
Okay,
Sorry to interrupt. So it's nothing permanent. It can be blocks. It can be on the grass. It can be on gravel. It can be on maybe an existing structure that was already there for other purpose,
okay.
but nothing tailored for such a building.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Levine.
I have a question regarding outdoor hot tubs. You talked about saunas, but does this deal with hot tubs as well that are freestanding?
No, we already have a provision for hot tubs, particularly for safety matters, the protection of the water, but it's not part of it. It's already in our bylaw. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if there are no other questions, I want to thank everybody for being here and thank Director No and those who are here online. And I declare the meeting closed at 7:31, and thank you.